Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to create a sprint in Azure DevOps. This is the key to moving from a chaotic backlog to a focused team that actually delivers on time. Hi everyone, I'm Lionel, a solution engineer at Microsoft. And the truth is, while many teams use the sprint feature in Azure DevOps, they often just treat it as a simple time box. This is the main reason they never escape that feeling of chaos and their planning remains unpredictable. A properly configured sprint is a system that brings clarity and focus, and that's exactly what I'm going to give you today. So in this video, we'll start with a quick Scrum Refresher to understand the why behind our actions. Then we'll dive straight into Azure DevOps for the step-by-step process, from configuring teams and sprints to assigning work items. And finally, I will show you how to monitor your progress and properly close out a sprint. As always, timestamps are in the description, so feel free to jump to the section that's most relevant to you. Alright, so before we jump into the clicks and buttons inside Azure DevOps, let's take a quick step back and ask, why do we even use sprints in the first place? Understanding this is the key to making the tool work for you and not the other way around. Let's be honest, building software or any complex project is inherently unpredictable. The old way of trying to plan everything for a year upfront, the waterfall model, often leads to building the wrong thing. You spend months working only to find out the requirements have changed, or you misunderstood the initial goal. Scrum flips that on its head. Instead of one giant leap of faith, Scrum is about taking small, deliberate steps. And these steps are called sprints. A sprint is just a short fixed period of time, usually between 1 to 4 weeks, where the team commits to building a small, usable piece of the final product. Think of it as a container for all your work and all your focus. And here's the magic of it. At the end of every single sprint, you have something ready to show for it, an increment of value. This allows you to get feedback, inspect your work, and adapt your plan for the next sprint. It's a built-in loop for learning and improving, which is how you achieve that focus and predictability we are aiming for. So the sprint isn't just a random deadline, it's the heartbeat of your project, turning that big, chaotic backlog we talked about into a predictable rhythm of delivery. With that in mind, let's see how we can bring this powerful concept to life inside Azure DevOps. Okay, we have covered the why. Now for the fun part, making it happen in Azure DevOps. This is where we lay the foundation to turn that messy backlog into a clean, predictable workflow. First things first, we need to define the sprints for the entire project. To do this, we'll go into project settings, not team settings. This is a super important distinction that confuses a lot of people. Think of the project settings as a master plan for the entire project, and team settings are where you customize that plan for a specific team. So let's go to project settings, and then under project configuration, click on iterations. You can think of iteration paths as the calendar for your entire project. These are all the potential sprints any team within this project could possibly use. You will see one already there with your project name. Let's create our first real sprint. We'll click New Child and name it Sprint 1. Then we'll give it a start and end date. Then let's add a couple more, Sprint 2 and Sprint 3. Don't worry about getting the dates perfect for the next 5 years. Just set up the next few. You can always add more later. Alright, our timeline is set. Next up, area paths. If sprints are about when, area paths are about what or who. They help you group work items by feature, components, or most commonly by team. This is how you tell Azure DevOps which part of the product a team is responsible for. Just like with iterations, we'll find this under project settings and project configuration and then areas. We are still at the project level. Let's add a new child area for the team we are about to create. We'll call it, for example, Web App Team. It's easy to over-engineer this. For now, just creating one area for your team is perfectly fine. Remember, we are aiming for clarity, not complexity. Okay, so we have set up our projects calendar on our projects folders. You might be thinking, great, are we done? Well, not quite. And this is a step where almost everyone gets stuck initially. Just because you have defined this path for the project doesn't mean your team knows they should use them. We have to explicitly tell the team which parts of the plan belong to them. To do that, we first need a team. Let's stay in project settings and go to the Teams tab in the General section. Here you can see the default team that was created with the project. We'll click New Team. Let's give it the same name as our area path for consistency, Web App Team. You can add members here and set a team admin. It's all pretty straightforward. And now for the magic step that ties it all together, click on the team you just created to open its settings. This is the team's personal view of the project. Now go to the iteration and area path. First, let's go to the iterations tab, click select iterations. Now you will see that project level calendar we created earlier. We just need to select the sprints that are relevant for this web app team. Let's pick sprint 1, 2, and 3. And here's a pro tip, you can set a default iteration. This is usually the team's current sprint. It's a small thing, but it's super helpful. We'll do the exact same thing for the area path. Go to the areas tab, click select area path, and choose the web app team area we created. And just like that, we have connecting the dots. We have told our team exactly which sprint to look at and which part of the product they own. No more confusion. Now we are ready to actually start planning the work. Okay, our foundation is solid. We have built the container for our team's work. Now, where do we actually see and manage that work? That all happens in the backlog. Let's navigate to boards and then backlogs. Make sure you have your web app team selected in the team selector. What you are seeing here is your product backlog. It's essentially your master to-do list for the entire product. You can start creating work items right here. These are often called user stories or product backlog items. Let's add a few like implement user login and design user homepage. You can also add higher level items like features and group your stories under them to keep things organized. Now you have this long list of things you want to do, but the big question is always how much can we actually fit into a sprint? You don't want to just guess, and this is where Azure DevOps has a really cool but often overlooked feature, forecasting. If you click on the view options icon and turn on forecasting, you will see a line appear on your backlog. Azure DevOps is looking at your team's past performance, or what's called velocity, to predict how many items you can likely complete in future sprints. If your team is new, you will need to enter a forecast velocity yourself. Let's say our team can complete about 20 story points per sprint. This tool gives you a data-driven preview of what's possible, moving you from wishful thinking to realistic planning. Now that we have a forecast of what we can do, it's time to officially plan our first sprint. This is the sprint planning meeting in action. On the left side of your backlog, you will see the sprints we configured earlier. To assign work to sprint 1, it's literally just a drag and drop. I will drag implement user login over to sprint 1. I will do the same for design the homepage. It's that simple. As you add items, you will see the total effort for that sprint adding up at the top. But wait, a user story is often too big to track on a daily basis. That's why we break it down into smaller tasks. From your sprint view, you can click the plus sign next to the backlog item to add a task like create login form or set up database connection. This gives you a more granular way to see progress during the sprint. Now, you might think that once you have dragged the items over, you are done planning, but this is the exact spot where most teams fail their sprints before they even start. They don't account for reality. I'm talking about team capacity. So let's go to the capacity tab for our sprint. Here you can set the number of hours per day each person on your team is available to work, and you can add days off for your team members who are on vacation, or even set team-wide days off. Be honest here, this isn't about tracking people's time, it's about making a realistic plan. Once you set your capacity, if you go back to the sprint backlog, you will see these bars light up. If they turn red, you are overcommitted. It's an instant visual warning. When you see that red bar, you have two choices. You can either break down the task into smaller pieces, or you have to move a work item out of the sprint. This forces an honest conversation. Being realistic here is the key to actually delivering on time. And finally, once your plan is set, you can easily share it. There is a handy button to email the sprint plan to stakeholders, keeping everyone in the loop and building trust. The plan is locked in, the sprint has started, we don't just close our eyes and hope for the best, we track our progress. The main hub for this is the task board, which you can find under sprints. This is your team's daily dashboard. You've got your stories and the tasks underneath them are laid out in columns like to do, in progress and done. As the team works, they just drag tasks across the board, and yes, moving a card to done is one of the most satisfying feelings in software development. But for higher level view, you want to look at the sprint burndown chart. You can see a small version right on the taskboard or add a bigger one to a dashboard. This chart is your single source of truth. It shows an ideal line of how work should burn down to zero and a second line showing your actual remaining work. If your actual work line is way above the ideal line, you know you are falling behind and can have a conversation about it early instead of waiting until the last day. Fast forward 2 weeks, we have done the work, the board is full of down columns and the burn down is near zero. It's time to close the loop. First, what about unfinished work? It happens. When you go to your project settings to change the dates of your next sprint, Azure DevOps will prompt you and ask what you want to do with any incomplete items from the sprint you just finished. You can automatically move them to the next sprint or back to the product backlog. This little feature prevents work from getting lost in limbo. But the most important part of closing a sprint isn't in the tool at all, it's the sprint retrospective meeting. This is where the team gets together and asks 3 simple but powerful questions. What went well, what didn't go well, and what will we commit to changing in the next sprint. This retrospective isn't just a meeting for the sake of a meeting, it's the engine that drives continuous improvement, and mastering this feedback loop is what separates the teams that just use sprints from the teams that truly become agile and predictable. And becoming truly agile and predictable isn't just about managing sprints perfectly, it's about mastering the entire Azure DevOps ecosystem, from setting up your first project to locking down permissions and security. So whether you are a complete beginner just getting started or you are ready to the next step, I have put together a complete playlist with all my best Azure DevOps videos just for you. You can click on the screen right here to dive into that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.